Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you happen to be in this world. My name's John West, and I'm here to welcome you to Japanese Business and Economy for Tokyo's Sophia University. Yes, John West here for Japanese Business and Economy. And here we are for the first class of our session together in the January session for the year 2023. This is the first part of our class, class 1A, and we're going to have an introduction to our course together. So, as I said before, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Konnichiwa, ohayo gozaimasu, konbanwa. I hope that you're learning some Japanese language along with Japanese business and economy. So, as I said, welcome to the January 2023 session in Japanese Studies at Tokyo's Sophia University. And welcome in particular to my course, Japanese Business and Economy. My name is John West, and I'll be with you for the next 14 classes. We'll have 14 classes together on the following days. Let me state them. January 10, 11, 12. Then we have a weekend, and then 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Again, another weekend. Then January 23, 4, 5, 6, 7. And finally, January 30. Now, you'll find my lectures on YouTube at the following address. Sophia has provided you with a little kit which has a document explaining where you can find my lectures and any other material. Each lecture will have 2 or 3 sections. So, for example, lecture 1 has 1A, 1B, and 1C. Now, the sessions on 12 and 20 January will be student discussion sessions. So for the first discussion session on 12 January, you must listen to lectures 1 to 3. For the second discussion session on 20 January, you need to have listened to the lectures for classes 4 to 8. So here is a little photo of what Sophia is like when we can all go to Tokyo to study and work together. Unfortunately, we have the course still online because of COVID-19. That will change. I think that in July 2023, classes will come back to normal. But for the moment, this is still, a bit of a dream to be able to get together at Sophia. Now, if you look at the right-hand photo, you'll see someone up the back there with fair hair, and that's me. That's a class I had a few years ago. Great class, we had a great time together. Anyway, it's better to be together for our class online than not at all. And so I look forward to spending the next 14 classes with you. Now, the students in our class, it's not a very big class we have, but the students come from different countries in different parts of the world. Countries like the Philippines, Australia, Indonesia, Russia, and Ukraine. And so for our student discussion sessions, we might have to have separate times depending on people's part of the world. And so I'm proposing that since I'm here in Paris, France, that our classes could be at 7 a.m. Paris time, 11 a.m. Paris time, or 4 p.m. Paris time. So you could choose which time suits you best according to where you happen to be in this world. And so just get onto Google and find out the time difference between Paris and your home. Then please contact me. Send me an email to john.mangwest@gmail.com to tell me of the time that you would like to have for your student discussion session. Now, during the third week of our class, which is the last week actually, 24-25 January, we're going to organise student presentations. Each of you will make a presentation to the class. Now, this will be an important part of your evaluation, worth 20% of your total grade. Your participation in our weekly discussions will be worth another 10% of your evaluation. On the last day of the class, Monday, 30 January, we'll have a final discussion session online together. Now, as I said, each student will make a 10-minute presentation to the class, and the topic is, what is your favorite Japanese company? Now, you should give a brief description of the company, along with the reason why you think it is such an important company. Don't tell me that you like so-and-so company because it's fun. You have to tell me a little bit about what they do, whether they're innovative, creative, very international, whether they're very friendly towards women employees and to family life in general. These types of issues I'd be very interested in. Now, during my lectures, I'm going to talk a bit about some Japanese companies. This will give you some ideas about what you might be able to talk about in your student presentation. You can see here the image on the right side of the screen. This is a Uniqlo. This is a very important Japanese company. It's a company that is very famous now worldwide for selling clothing. Now, students are always very interested in their evaluation, their grades. At Sophia, we have a system A, B, C, D, and F. Now, sometimes we have a few good students, very good students who might get an A grade. Most students tend to get a B, which is a very good grade actually. And sometimes we might have a sleepy student or two who might get a C. Quite honestly, I don't like to see students get D or F. And most of our students are very serious, take the course very seriously. So I don't see any student getting a D or an F if they take the course seriously and do the work that we have to do together. Now, as I've said, the student presentation accounts for about 20% of your grade. Your general participation in our discussion sessions, 10% of your grade. And the other 70% of your grade comes from your paper. You're going to write a paper for me around 2,000 words. So that will account for 70% of your total evaluation. Now, what is the topic of your paper? The topic is, please discuss briefly the main challenges facing Japanese business and economy, and please analyze at least 3 solutions to these challenges. I'll repeat. Please discuss briefly the main challenges facing Japanese business and economy and analyze at least 3 solutions to these challenges. Your paper will be due at midnight, Paris time, midnight Paris time on Friday, February 3. Now, let me talk a little bit about references for the class. Now, some professors I know use Moodle. I don't use Moodle at all. I have my own website, which is called the Asian Century Institute, and all the reference material and the YouTube lectures can be found on my website. And you can see there on the screen the link to the relevant material, and that again is mentioned in the document that Sophia University sent to you. Now, although I provide references, and of course they are my lectures, it'd be great in your final paper and also your student presentation if you could go beyond the material on my website and in my lectures. If you do your own research and come up with your own ideas, that would be really great. Another reference which you may find useful is my book, which is called Asian Century on a Knife Edge. You can access the book directly off the homepage of my website. And this actually has lots of material on Japan. And so you may find that useful too. Now, that's a little bit of material for you on how we go about our course together, the administrative and logistical aspects of our course. I'd now like to continue on and tell you a little bit about the Japanese business and economy story. What is the story? What is the narrative? Now, please have a look at this photo on the screen. This is a photo of Hiroshima after the atomic bomb at the end of the Second World War. You can see there that Hiroshima was destroyed at the end of the war. And in fact, Japan as a country was basically destroyed at the end of World War II. But Japan did recover very quickly after World War II. Please have a look at this chart on the screen. Now, the blue line, that's the US, United States of America. The red line, that is Japan. At the bottom, you see their years, and it goes from the year 1900 through to the year 2010. And on the left-hand side, it goes up, that's per capita GDP. Now, what's interesting is that in 1945, you can see a sharp decline in the red line for Japan. This shows the destruction of Japan at the end of the Second World War. But what's exciting, and it has a circle around it, from 1945 through to 1970, Japan caught up dramatically. Japan had rapid economic growth and a rapid catch-up towards the level of the United States. Then from 1970 on, through to about 1990, Japan continued to catch up with the United States, less dramatically, but it continued to catch up. And then, unfortunately, after 1990, the gap between the US and Japan opened up again. Very gradually, but it opened up again. So Japan was, in fact, the first Asian miracle economy. It rose from the ashes of World War II, become the world's second largest economy in 1968, displacing Germany. Now, Japan's development was led by exports from Japanese enterprises. They conquered world markets, especially for motor vehicles, automobiles, and also for electronics. Companies like Toyota and Nissan in the automobile sector, companies like Sony and Panasonic in the electronics sector. Now, the Japanese government played a critical role in this rise of Japan after the war. They provided high-quality education to its population. They built excellent infrastructure meaning railways and roads and bridges and ports and airports and things. Infrastructure is very important for the economy so that goods and services can move around, people can move around. The Japanese government also did lots in terms of helping infant industries grow up and mature into successful and sophisticated industries. In the photo there, you can see there, that's Mr. Kishida, who is currently the Prime Minister of Japan. He's doing a great job trying to keep Japan moving in the right direction. Now, today, Japan has a rapidly aging population. Perhaps you've heard about that. But during the years 1950s through to 1980s, Japan had a youthful, energetic, and educated population, which is a key factor in its development. And you can see in the chart here that these lines go up, and that's the growing youthful population in Japan. They turned down again in 1995 when Japan's aging population starts to hit the economy. We'll be looking at it in more detail in the next class, actually. Now, this chart is also very interesting. This shows total GDP for the US, that's the yellow line, Japan is the purple line, China is the green-blue line, and the UK is the other line. What you see here is that the US has been on top, basically, for a long, long while. Its GDP, total GDP, is higher than all other countries. The line keeps going up. You see the purple line there, that's Japan growing and catching up towards the US. And you see the Japan line starts to flatten out a bit after 1990. The green-blue line is very interesting. This is China. In 1960, China was way down the bottom and gradually started growing. And of course, through the 2000s, grew very rapidly and overtook Japan in terms of total GDP in the year 2010. And so what this chart says, and I'll repeat it again, is the steady rise in Japan's GDP. It also shows how in 2010, China's total GDP overtook Japan, such that China now has the world's second biggest economy, and Japan is back at number 3. Now, the 1990s were a period of great change in Japan and in the Japanese economy. After its dramatic rise, Japan was struck down by a financial crisis in the 1990s. This began a period which we call the lost decades of Japan. Now look at the chart here. This is the Nikkei stock index, the stock market in Japan. And you can see from 1970 through the 1980s up to 1990, it goes up very, very sharply. But after 1990, it falls back down again. This is the financial crisis that I mentioned, that we're going to look at in more detail in future classes. But after 1990, in fact, Japan was hit by a number of things, which actually has been behind the lost decades. The aging population I referred to, it has built up a large public debt, and also its productivity is a little bit weak compared with the US, Germany, and other world leaders. Now, the Japanese experience is very interesting for us to help us understand what's happening in Japan, but it also provides many lessons for countries like China. Now, the Japanese economy faces many challenges, but Japanese companies, which are part of the economy, also face challenges. Leading electronics companies like Sharp, Sony, and Panasonic, which once dominated world markets, are now struggling in the face of competition from companies from the US, like Apple, from Korea, like Samsung, and from China, like Huawei. Japan's automobile companies are still very successful. Toyota leads the world motor vehicle industry. But even here, Korean companies like Hyundai and Kia are now strong competitors for Japan. On the positive side, there has actually been a new generation of Japanese enterprises which is achieving success. Companies like Uniqlo, that I mentioned before, Muji, which sells household products, Rakuten, which is Japan's answer to Amazon, and SoftBank. Japan has also become an important exporter of cultural products like anime, manga, and computer games. Here, Nintendo is also a successful company. Now, since the year 2013, the Japanese government has been trying to revitalize the economy through Abenomics. Now, Abenomics is an economic program named after the former Japanese Prime Minister, Mr. Shinzo Abe. Most tragically, Mr. Abe was assassinated earlier in 2022, so he's no longer with us. Now, his program of Abenomics has actually had some positive effects on the Japanese economy, and although he's tragically no longer with us, the government is still employing the program of Abenomics to stimulate the Japanese economy. Now, many analysts and commentators speculate that the 21st century will become the Asian century, a century led by Asia. Now, this possible Asian century presents Japan with many opportunities, but also some challenges. Great opportunities are the fast-growing markets in Asia, which provide great markets for Japan's enterprises to export. You see here a nice photo there of former Prime Minister Abe meeting with the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So what are some of the challenges that Japan faces in this possible Asian century? One of the big challenges is the great power rivalry between China and the US. China has become Japan's most important trading partner, most important economic partner. On the other hand, the US is Japan's most important military partner, military ally. So Japan is caught a little bit between China and the US, China being the important trading partner, US being military partner. Now, there are many solutions to Japan's economic predicament. We're going to be examining these solutions in great detail through our class. Some of the solutions are immigration. With the aging population and now declining population, immigration can help fill the gap in the Japanese economy. Womenomics, offering greater opportunity to Japan's women, can also help cope with Japan's aging population. Robotics, Japan is a great leader in the world of robots, and so again, this is another possible solution. Some other solutions are promoting sectors like cultural industries, manga, anime, computer games, and also promoting tourism. Another solution could be lifting productivity by greater openness to trade and investment and promoting the digitalization of the economy. These are some of the issues that we'll look at during the latter part of our course. Coming right back to today, there are two great things that just hit the world in recent times. One is COVID-19, and the other is the Ukraine war. Now, the Japanese economy has been hit hard by COVID. This is a topic that I'll be discussing later on in our course. Now, the case numbers and deaths from COVID in Japan are not nearly as high as in the US or the UK or France, but it has still hit the economy quite hard with the decline in tourism and the decline in the world economy. The other thing that I just mentioned, which of course is the war in Ukraine, Japan has been hit by this by several effects. Japan is a big importer of energy, oil, coal, gas, and so on. And as energy prices have gone up, that's hit the Japanese economy. Japan also imports lots of raw materials and minerals. Again, the prices of these commodities has gone up following the war. And so these things have hit the Japanese economy, as has the general weakness in the world economy. Again, I'll come back to this topic in greater detail in a future class. So that's it for our opening class together, the introduction to Japanese business and economy. And I'd like to thank you so much for being with me for this opening class. So as I said, this is our very first class together, class 1A, the introduction to the course on Japanese business and economy. It's been great to have you with us for this opening to our course together. If you have any questions, comments, please just send me an email. I'll be delighted to receive it and I'll get back to you straight away. So thank you once again.